Hello and welcome back to our Wired Client tutorial. This is part 2 of the messaging setup. At this time we are focusing on the events. So to get to the events, we just select schedule and then events. Events are where you assign the messages to a trigger. It's basically where you give a time frame to your message. It's a way to specify exactly when your automated message is sent out or the conditions that need to be met for the message to be sent. An example of that is discharge, so that could be a trigger. 2 weeks with no new appointment, that could also be a trigger. So we're going to walk through a few different examples of some of the events that you may be creating. But first, we're just going to take a quick look at the screen here. You can see a few different pieces of information about each of the events, chiefly the event name, the message template title. So this is the message that has been assigned to the event. The type of trigger, whether it's an annual trigger, so this is recurring, it's happening every year, whether it's being set off by an end date, so if this is like a discharge message, then it's going to be set off by an end date, the number of visits, so someone who's currently in your care, the start date, it's another very popular trigger, the birth date, but we'll be getting into these in more detail as I walk you through creating some events. So to begin creating an event, you can just click Add, and you'll start by choosing the business name and the event name. So in this example, I'm going to do a Happy New Year event. So Happy New Year. The template title. This is the list of all of the message templates that you have created. So you can scroll through them, or you can just type it out, whatever you like. You can choose whether or not you want the message to go out at the start of the day or the end of the day. So the start of the day is going to send it around 9 a.m. The end of the day is going to send it around 5 p.m. So for this particular message, we're going to do end of the day. The trigger date. So we can go through here to December 31st. And the trigger days will be 0 because we aren't sending this message any days before December 31st, and we aren't sending it any days after December 31st. We want that message to go through on December 31st. So the trigger days will be 0, and the trigger type is going to be an annual trigger date. So we know that every year we want this person to receive the same message. And number of visits, that is also irrelevant because this is just a New Year's greeting. So when all that's done, you can click OK. And I just created an event for New Year's, but it can be a little more involved than that. I'll walk you through creating an event for an appointment reminder. So the business name we have. The event name will be 2 days before appointment. And the template title. This is the appointment reminder one that I created in the previous video. And we'll send the message at the start of the day. So this is going to be coming through around 9 a.m. And the trigger date, this doesn't actually matter in this case. You could just leave the current date. But the trigger days, however, because we want this 2 days before the appointment, we'll put -2. So the minus indicates that it's happening before, and the the trigger type rather, will be the next appointment date. So when all of that's filled out, click OK, and we just have a new event for 2 days before appointment. Moving on, we can try creating a appointment fall off reminder. So click add, and the name of this event will be fall off reminder. And for our template title, we're going to choose fall off. The trigger date we can leave as is. The trigger days, this is 14 days. Okay, so 2 weeks. Since the last visit date without rebook. So by creating this event, the system knows that they need to send this fall off reminder message 14 days after their last visit date without rebook. And we could go ahead and click OK. And we now have an event for fall off reminders. Take you through some more simple ones. The birthday greeting. So let's call this one Happy Birthday. And we'll look for our birthday greeting template. And trigger date we can ignore. The trigger days we can also ignore as well. And the trigger type will be birth date. So we now have an event for the birth date. Oh, you see I tried to click OK without putting a trigger days, and that's because we want a 0, because we want this message to go out on the patient's birthday, not a day before, not a day later. We want it on the birthday. So we'll just click OK. And don't worry about the trigger date, because this isn't what's determining when the message is sent. It will just default to today's date, but it is taking the birth date from the client profile. Now we'll create another event, and this one's just for a first visit. So we just want to congratulate them on their first visit. So we'll name it first visit. And for the template title, we'll go in here and we'll grab our first visit message template. And for the trigger days, we want 0 because we want it to be on that specific day. And for the trigger type, it's going to be start date. So at the end of the day, 0 days after the start date, so on the specific start date, they're going to receive this first visit message. Let's create another one, this time for their 5th visit. So I'm going to call this event 5th visit. And I'm going to search in here for the 5th visit. Trigger days, this is going to be 0 because there is a trigger type for the number of visits. So now number of visits has become a required field simply because our trigger type is based on the number of visits. So this is just for the 5th visit. And we can go ahead and click OK. And now we have an event for our 5th visit.